Hi everyone, and welcome to our webinar. Our topic for today is 10 signals you are making the most of Wrike. Please let me know if you cannot hear me well, and I'll do my best to fix that. I would like to start with introducing myself. My name is Artem, and I'm a customer success manager here at Wrike. And my main goal is to help you use Wrike in the most efficient way. There are dozens of ways teams are using Wrike, but there are common benefits all teams are reaping, like increased visibility, accountability, and efficiency. We will share 10 signals that will help you understand whether you are on the route to excellence. The recording of this webinar is going to appear on the webinar page tomorrow, so you will be able to review these signals later again. Let's get started. Signal number 1. Your team has a habit of opening Wrike at the start of the working day. Efficient teams think of Wrike as an ecosystem where all the project information is stored, scheduled, assignments, files, and discussions. It saves them from collecting data scattered across multiple tools and personal notes, duplicated efforts, delays, and fire drills. Team members know that Wrike is their single source of truth, and that's why all the actions they perform on the projects need to be represented in Wrike. Not only do they know it, they expect the same behavior from their colleagues. So every morning, members of efficient teams go to Wrike to update status of the tasks they are working on and find all the necessary information for today. Check the up-to-date priorities, see new assignments, ask or answer any questions that might have emerged. Signal number 2. You are not using using email to discuss work with your colleagues. Once you build a habit inside your team to communicate only within Wrike, you will no longer need to search for that email containing the action plan. You will not spend your team's valuable time to double check if a creative asset has been approved, because all the pieces of the puzzle are stored in a single place. Let me give you a quick example. So here I have a department-based folder structure. Let me just open the marketing department and show you one of the projects here. So as you can see, the communication is going on the project level. But of course, it can also happen on the task level and on the folder level, wherever it is relevant. When you are exchanging emails with your colleagues, your discussions go around the actionable steps that need to be completed. With Wrike, all these items and discussions around them are consolidated in a single place, making the work much more convenient. Moving to the signal number 3. You have a knowledge base folder in your account containing the permalinks to all the important items. Again, I would like to start with showcasing the knowledge base folder. Here it is in the demo account that I'm showing to you right now. So why is this signal number 3? Because it means you maintain Wrike as a single source of truth for everything, including internal processes and best practices, and aren't asking team to go elsewhere for work information. Every efficient organization has its processes properly documented. This documentation should include both the description of these processes and list of all the important items that are related to them. Creation of the knowledge base folder is a great way to store that documentation. So this is a very simple example, but still it illustrates what I've just described pretty well. So we have a simple process called IT help desk, how to. So it is described in this task with these checkboxes of all the things that need to be made when a help desk ticket needs to be sent. So the best practice for organizing the knowledge base folder um, in Wrike is having a directory of permalinks to all the important items in the account, and a task containing house rules that you have come up with for all the users in the account. Whatever type of folder structure you have in the account, permalinks can help you create fast routes to any items your team members need to address on the regular basis. This can include the office information folder, where all the company-wide announcements are posted, or links to the particular request form, like IT help desk form. So here you can see a task called folder tree help, and it contains several permalinks, including the ones to the office folder, to the meetings folder, to the archive folder, and also the link to the IT help desk request form. So you can store all the information in one place. Moving to the signal number 4. You start your team meetings with reviewing a team dashboard and Gantt chart. We all participate in meetings. They are an inextricable part of every business. Let's face it, you cannot avoid having meetings. But what is in your power is making your meetings shorter and spend time on them more efficiently. Let me also start with an example here. So I open one of the dashboards called Meeting Dashboard. All right. And this is how the efficient meetings start. All right, team. According to our dashboard, we are progressing great. We have 5 tasks here in review, 10 completed, and 3 on hold. I've reviewed the notes you've left in the description of the tasks. I'll just ask several quick clarifying questions, and we can return to working on the tasks we need to complete by the end of this week. Or another example. Team, I've noticed you've changed the due date of the task, scheduling it 2 days later. All the subsequent activities have been shifted accordingly. Is everyone fine with this? Will we still be able to complete everything in time? Or we will need to shift the milestone as well? Moving to the signal number 5. It takes you less than 3 minutes to have a report on the projects you have completed in the last quarter. Reporting to upper management and evaluating team performance is a frequent type of work any manager does. And the best practice is to invest a couple of hours into building reports once, and then review these reports with the required cadence that you can schedule in Wrike. So I would like to start with showcasing the archive folder. So as you can see, it contains the subfolders representing each of the departments in the organization. So the best practice is to have that folder where team stores all the projects that it has completed or put on hold. So basically, whenever any of the departments finishes working on a project or puts it on hold, they simply move that project to the corresponding archive folder of their department. So when you need to build a historical report, you know exactly what should be the source folder for that report. Remember that you can toggle on and off particular columns of the report to show or hide the data. Your reports can vary from those providing some top-level information for basic checkups to very complicated ones that can serve a base for deep analysis. I would like to show you one of the reports here. So it is a historical report called Q3 2018 completed projects. So this is the one that illustrates the ability to view some high-level information. So if, for example, the executive team makes a request to see all the projects that your team has completed in the third quarter of 2018, you simply build this report and then it becomes always available. Also, efficient teams do not build a report every time. They need to see the historical data. So they do it only once and then just open the report from the list. Easy? Yes. Time consuming? No. And of course, you can build several reports if you need to see the information from different angles. All right, let's move to the signal number 6. And it takes just a couple of minutes to share the updated version of a project roadmap with your client. You're making the most of Wrike if you have mastered the external capabilities Wrike has to offer. If a client requests a project update, here are the things that you can send. The external link to the calendar. So if you have a calendar based on a particular folder or a project, you can always get the external link to it and send it to the client. Even if your client is not a part of your Wrike account, so if you have not invited a representative of your client as, for example, a collaborator, that person would still be able to view the information contained in the external calendar link. And of course, that person would be able to see different views like weekly view, monthly view, and switch between different months. But of course, due to the fact that we are always trying to make things secure, that person would not be able to open any of these tasks. But still, this approach can be invaluable if you need, for example, to share an email marketing plan with the customer. Another option that is available to you is to show the Gantt chart snapshot. Let me open one of the projects here in the creative team folder. It's the one called serial banner ad. So I simply open the Gantt chart view, and here is our project. I can just get either the previous version of the snapshot. So I have made 2 of them actually in November and in January. So I can always create a new one, send a link, and that's what the client is going to see. So a Gantt chart snapshot, I would say it's the best way to showcase how the parts of the project are interconnected with each other. Another way is to send your client a report snapshot. I've already prepared an example for you. It's called Overdue Marketing Milestones. So this is a very specific report that shows all the tasks that are milestones. If you do not remember, in Wrike, milestones are the tasks that do not have a start date. They only have due dates. So, and this particular one shows all the milestone tasks from the marketing department folder that are currently overdue. And I would like to remind you that report always shows up-to-date information. So if I, for example, reschedule any of these tasks, then they would immediately disappear from the report. And the last option available to you is to export the project into Excel. So here I have another good example for you. So we have a project called Blog on Best Workplace Habits. Let me actually open the table view so you will understand why it might be a good idea to export it to Excel and send the spreadsheet to the client. Well, that's because this project has a lot of numerical data. So as you can see, there is planned budget, actual budget, effort that was calculated at the initial phase of this project, and time actually spent. So some simple mathematical calculations can be performed directly in Wrike with the help of calculated custom fields. But if your client needs to perform some advanced calculations, then probably it would be a great idea to send the exported version of this project to your client. Moving further, signal number 7. When you ask for the input of another team, the common response is fill in the request form. It is always good when you have the means to automate at least a part of the routine. So when a certain input is asked from a different team, a signal of efficiency here is the response, fill in the request form. Asking to fill a form is not about being rude or too formal. It's about delivering that request in the most meaningful time frame with the best quality possible. As you can see in my demo account, I have a large number of request forms, but to be fair, it's not as large as the lists I have seen on the calls with a lot of our clients. Request forms make it easier to scope, prioritize, and resource the request. The form is beneficial to both to the person filling it in and to the one processing it. Answering the predetermined questions is always easier than trying to recall what information should be included. And processing a structured request is faster and easier. Also, remember that a form can trigger a pre-created template that contains all the necessary steps to complete the project. The time invested in building a form and a template pays off well because they give you the opportunity to scale delivery without compromising quality, which is a win-win for both parties. Not only do the forms help to automate the intake process, they allow to track how many times the help of a certain team or employee was required. This gives you the opportunity to estimate the effort for processing all the similar future requests. So here in this demo account, we have a folder called Request for Webinars. All these projects that start with these numbers were triggered by a request form, a certain one called Request for Webinar. So basically, when I decide to analyze the effort spent on preparation of the webinar, I can simply go through the list of requests that have been already made, then find out if these webinar projects were delivered on time, if there were some problems or everything went just fine, and then calculate the effort for the future. So generally speaking, a good practice is to have a form for each repetitive activity, whatever that activity might be in your organization. Signal number 8. Onboarding new employees is templatized. Why is this a signal 8? Because it means you nailed the benefits of using templates and think of creative ways to leverage them. Onboarding new employees with a template has two advantages. Number one, you are not recreating the wheel every time a new employee is hired. You set up onboarding tasks once and then simply duplicate them for the new folks. And the advantage number two is that new folks learn Wrike by using it. So adoption is smoother for them and requires less managerial assistance. Let me show you how this can be organized in your Wrike account. So here I have the folder called templates, and inside I have all HR templates. So here is a template called new employee onboarding template. As you can see, I have specific tasks ready for the new team members, and they are spread in weeks. So there are separate projects and tasks for each week. For example, week 1 contains product training, role training, and end week assessment. Whether the onboarding process is relatively short or to the opposite, takes several weeks, the new team members can see the full picture of the upcoming training process. The people they need to meet, and the materials they need to go through from day one. Transparency is the new favorite word. Signal number 9. You can differentiate approved files from those awaiting approval at a glance. Why is this a signal 9? Because it means you have fully integrated proofing and approvals functionality into your business processes in case there is a business need for it. Let me show you one of my dashboards here. So here it is, Creative Team Dashboard. So the approval process has some portion of stress integrated into it by default, because you need an opinion of several team members, some of whom can be busy, on PTO, or sick. What you definitely want to avoid is adding one extra level of stress related to digging email threads to find both approved files and those still awaiting approval. Wrike approvals allow team members and external stakeholders involved into the approval process give their decision directly in the workspace on the level of an asset that needs to be approved. Stakeholders responsible for approvals don't take their chances with just having the assets that require their opinion fall into the inbox. They create files in Review widget and add it to their personal dashboard to never miss anything that requires their attention. As you can see, this is sort of an approval dashboard that the creative team has created in this account. So it has a widget per each stage of approval. So the first one shows that currently there are 6 items that are still awaiting approval. 2 items have a status changes required, and the last one has the status approved. So if, for example, any of the creative assets residing here get approved, they would automatically appear in the approved widget. And finally, we have signal number 10. You don't remember the last time you have heard questions like, who is responsible for this? Whom should I ask for feedback? Or what's the deadline? Why is it signal number 10? Because all the team members know that all this information is already in Wrike. We took these particular questions as examples because they provide a good demonstration of a changed behavior. It's relatively easy to build new Wrike-related habits because, well, mostly because these actions make your life much easier. We know that you and your team have much more important things to worry about than just continually searching for the person responsible for a certain project or trying to recall if you are still making it to the due date, or you need to call a client and reach new agreements. Now we would like to find out what is your Wrike geek level. On the scale from 1 to 10, where the score is the number of signals valid for your team, I will launch a quick poll right now. So you should see the poll right now. Please quickly fill it in. Just 1 more minute and I will close it. Alright guys, I see everyone had already answered and I'm closing the poll. Let me share the results with you. As you can see, the majority of the attendees of this session consider themselves Wrike Padawans. But of course, there is always some room for improvement. So you can always rewatch this session to just recall all these signals and become even more efficient with Wrike. All right, guys. So that was everything I was planning to share with you today. And I would like you to ask you to post this, the results of your Wrike Geek level into Twitter with this hashtag. And afterwards, everyone will understand what is your expertise with with Wrike and how efficient are you using it at the moment. All right, now it is time for your questions. I see there are already some questions in the question box, so I will just start going through them, and we still have some time, so we can you can keep posting your questions into the question box. All right. We have a comment from Teresa. We love using Wrike for anchored correspondence about a certain project. It saves having to waste time searching email threads. Well, Teresa, thank you for sharing this experience. This is great that Wrike is able to help you with this. We have a question from Michelle. Can you click on one of the permalinks? Sure, I can do that, of course. So I'll just go back to the knowledge base folder. I will open that task, folder tree help. And yeah, for example, we need to open the meetings folder. So I click on the permalink and I find myself in the meetings folder where all the tasks representing particular meetings are residing in. So yeah. So we have a question from Jean-Philippe. Will there be a video shared at the end? Yes, the recorded version of this webinar is going to appear tomorrow on the webinar page, wrike.com/webinar, and also the link to the recording will be sent to all the registrants of this webinar. So yeah, of course, you will be able to rewatch it. Another question from Michelle. Can you show the report setup? Sure, I can do that. I guess you are talking about the report called Q3 2018 completed projects. Correct me if I'm wrong. So this is a project-based report, and it has the marketing department folder, actually the archive version of the marketing department folder selected as the source. Also in the filters, I have specified that I only want to see this, the projects that have completed status. And also I have specified that I only want to see the project that were completed in this particular time frame. So yeah. Another question from Michelle. If I only put a due date in it, defaults to milestone date. Well, let me quickly clarify that as well. So you can just open any of the tasks, for example, this one, and you can always convert this task to a milestone. This is probably one of the most simple ways to do that. We have a question from Sign. I'm sorry if I mispronounce your name. Where did you find the request forms? Well, the request forms are available starting from the business subscription. So all account administrators on business subscriptions that hire can create new request forms, and users are able to make requests. So all these request forms that you can see in this list were created by myself on the stage of just building and tailoring up this demo account. So of course, users will only be able to see the forms that you as an admin have already created. We have a question from Devon. Can you please show us what is inside of these projects? I guess you are talking about onboarding projects, Devon. Yeah, I think I am correct. So, and also, is there any way you can share your new employee onboarding with us? Well, I have, to be fair, I have not populated these particular projects with any of the tasks. I just created this to show you how this can be organized. Because, I mean, the product training is always tailored to the needs of a particular organization. So basically, product training in one organization can involve, for example, viewing particular webinars. So let's say if it is product of Wrike, I can just add a task called attend a webinar, then go to our webinar page, wrike.com/webinar, and get a permalink to one of our onboarding sessions. So I get register now, I get a link, and I include that link into our task. So basically, it goes like this. We have a question from Scott. What is a Padawan? Well, it's a term from Star Wars. It's a guy or a girl who is learning to become a Jedi Master. All right. We have a question from Mark. in the request form feature, it seems that the application is more than just a request. Could you cover the basic function again and give another example? Sure, that's a great question, Mark, and of course I can do that. So request form is a form that is submittable either by internal users, I mean the people who are part of your Wrike account, or by external guys if the form is specifically made external. For example, here is a creative request form. So it contains a number of questions. This is actually an external form, so the customer who is not registered in Wrike is able to submit this form. And when the form is submitted, let me show you the form from the admin's perspective. So when the form is submitted, it can trigger several different actions. The form can trigger the creation of a task. The form can trigger the creation of a project, and advanced request forms can trigger the creation of a project from template. So as you can see, there is a very long form here called creative form. Okay, it also triggers the creation of a task. Marketing request form, I guess. Yeah, so as you can see, this particular form triggers the creation of a project, and it places the project into a particular folder, and even assigns a particular person as the owner of that newly created project. And more to that, Mark, a form can be dynamic, so you can set it up in the way so it will react to the answer that user provides. So depending on, let's say, the answer to one of the questions, the form can show one page or another page. So from the general perspective, this is what the forms can do. We have a question from Millie. Is that poll a feature of Wrike that I can use? Well, Millie, this poll was not delivered through Wrike. It was delivered through GoToWebinar. So, but by the way, you can actually build a request form, Millie, that you will be able to use to conduct a poll. And you can set the request form, in the way that all the responses would fall into a particular folder, and then you would be able to process them. So yeah, basically the answer is yes, but not in a particular way that you have seen during this session. There is a question from Jackson. I'm very confused about the calendar feature. I haven't been able to figure this out. Well, Jackson, could you please elaborate what exactly you don't understand about the calendars, and I'll just explain. We have another question from Sign. Could you go through how requests are made? Sure. So requests are made by the users or by external stakeholders in case the form is made external. So let me actually show you the marketing request forms that I have shown you earlier from the inside, from the admin's perspective. So I will quickly fill it in as a user. Please classify your request. Well, let's say I have a one-off request. Next. Pick categories that apply to your request. Let's say I need to record a video and conduct another webinar. Please provide some additional details to your request. We need a video and a webinar to support the release of a new add-on. Deadline for the request, let it be tomorrow, and I click submit. So the form had been submitted, and the submission of the form triggered the creation of a project from a template. So the description of the project itself contains all the answers that I have provided when I was filling in the form. And due to the fact that the form triggered the creation of a project from a template, the template contained a number of tasks, and all these tasks are already here. So that's how the form works. We have another question from Rodrigo. How can watch again this webinar? I wasn't able to start from the beginning. Well, Rodrigo, as I already mentioned, the recording of this webinar is going to appear on our webinar page tomorrow. So you will always be able to rewatch it later. if you need to, even several times. Okay, we have a question from Jean-Philippe. How do you manage notifications? So, again, could you please elaborate on this a bit? So, what exactly would you like to know about managing notifications? Where do they appear, or how do you set up email notifications? Could you please elaborate a bit? We have a question from Anna. Can we share artwork proofs with client via a link? Thanks for the question, Anna. It's actually a great question, and the answer is yes. It became available at the end of 2018 with the guest reviews functionality. So here on the level of the marketing department folder, I have several creative assets that I have added for review. So here you can see that there is the guest reviewers option. So if you click the invite by email, you can invite the person to review your files even if they are not registered in your Wrike account. So you would simply need to add the email, maybe some personal message for your client, and the name. And the person is going to receive a letter from Wrike saying that he had been added as a reviewer, and well, that person can proceed with reviewing. We have a question from Sarah. And by the way, guys, thank you so much for being so active during this webinar. I love that you have so many questions. Is there any news on this year Collaborate Wrike conference? Well, to be fair, I do not know. I'm sure that all the news are going to appear on our website. So yeah, the only thing that I can recommend at the moment is that you just go to our main page and just scroll down. We usually have all of our news available. So yeah. We have another question from Sarah. How do I create this permalink? You can get a permalink to any of the items by clicking this button. So you can get a permalink to the task, to the folder, or to the project. Let's say I want a permalink to the human resources folder. So I open the folder, open folder info panel, and get the permalink. Now I can paste it. Let's paste it into our knowledge base folder. Folder tree help. Let me also leave a comment here. Here is our HR folder. All right. So yeah, that's how you get a permalink. Another question from Jean-Philippe. How do you create a widget? Well, there are two ways of, actually 3 ways of creating a widget. So if you need to add a widget, you can either get a widget from one of the templates available to you, or create a custom widget. Let me quickly show you how to create a widget from one of the templates here. Let's say I want the widget called Active Tasks by Assignee. So I choose a user, let it be Brian, and I choose a folder, let it be Marketing. So now I click Add to Dashboard, and I can see all the active tasks that are assigned to Brian. So again, from the on the general level, this is how widget is created. We have specific webinars where we describe how to create those widgets. Actually, let me give you a quick tip here. So we have a how-to video called Building a Team Dashboard that my colleague Irina has recorded. I'm now pasting the link to this video into the chat. So Jean-Philippe, you should see this link by now, and you can just watch this video. It will get your question answered. We have a question from Kyla. Is Wrike going to allow row assignments instead of specific people assignments? Would like to see this enhancement so we can assign prepare, reviewer, and final reviewer can be assigned by project. And then as the project moves along, WrikeBot assigns it to appropriate person automatically. That's a very great suggestion, Kyla. And yes, our development team is now researching this option, but I can show you a quick workaround. It's not totally automated, but I still hope it will be helpful for you. So let me find where. Yeah, I think it is here. Yeah, so we have a project template here. Let me show you this template. All tasks. So as you can see, this template contains a large number of tasks, right? So if I open any of the tasks, I would see a particular value of the custom field. So here the value is designer, here the value is manager, and here the role is, for example, also manager. So let me show you how I can quickly distribute the roles among the team members. So let me start by duplicating this project. I'll just call it new project number 5. Okay. I will also place it in the very same folder, 3 roles, so I will not need to search for it. And I copy it with custom field values, right? Let me actually copy it with everything. Now I click duplicate. The project is created from a template, right? So now I have all these tasks. So back to your particular question. Let's say in this particular project, the roles are always the same, but they can be covered by different team members depending on who is available, right? So let's say I need to assign all the tasks that need to be performed by a manager. I apply filter by custom field role, and I select all the tasks that need to be performed by manager. Now I select them all and use mass actions to assign them to, let's say, N. All right, N is going to be responsible for all the tasks that need to be performed by a manager. Let's continue this example. I'll discard this filter, and now I need to assign all the tasks that need to be performed by a designer. Again, advanced filter, filter by custom field, role, and this time I choose designer. We have 3 tasks. Again, mass actions, select them all, and mass assign them to, let's say, DOM. And I can continue like this for all the roles that are involved in your project. So yeah, of course I understand that this is not fully automated, but this will still speed up the process of assigning tasks if the same roles are always involved. We have a question from Monica. I understand blueprints are in a beta feature. Do you know if these will be available as an active feature? Yes, the answer is yes, Monica, but later this year. As far as I remember, it's Q3. So, yeah. So we have a question from Stephanie. Is there a video tutorial reviewing Gantt charts? Thanks for the question, Stephanie. And the answer is yes. Here it is. I am now pasting a link to this video to the chat. So Stephanie, you should be able to see it right now. Yeah. We have another question from Monica. When you have a template with dates, how can you eliminate the warnings of past due tasks on your template? Well, at the moment, what you can do is set the status of your tasks that are part of the template to any status from the deferred status group. So let me open one of the templates here. Let's say this one, new webinar template. So if I select all the tasks and set all the statuses to deferred, then I will not receive any notification about these. Well, not only myself, but also the team members that are responsible for completing these tasks. To their mailboxes and inboxes. So yeah, this is a workaround for you. But with the release of blueprints, of course, the need for this workaround will disappear, because until the project is going to be launched from a blueprint, no one, even if people are going to be assigned to particular tasks, they will not receive any notifications. We have another question from Emily. When sharing anything other than calendar links, such as Gantt snapshots, report snapshots, is there a way to prevent clients from being able to filter by time spent, or prevent them from seeing a task log beyond the task title? Hmm. Could you please elaborate a bit? I'm not sure I understand what exactly. What do you mean by task log? Um, because if I understand you correctly, so you are worried about the fact that the client would be able to see some information on the task level. Well, if you are sharing the snapshot, then the client would not be able to open any of the tasks. The client would only be able, well, to see the picture that I have demonstrated to you when I was just showing how to create a snapshot, or, for example, an external link to the calendar. Next question we have is from Margaret. What's the easiest way to manage already addressed requests from request forms, so you can grid of ones that have been completed? Well, I would say there are two approaches here. The first one is simply move all the completed requests to the archive folder. And this approach has a huge benefit because, as I said, if you need to build a historical report on, for example, completed requests, right? So you are able to do that based on the archive folder. And then another way is to just disable this option here, show completed projects. So if you do that, then if you disable this checkbox, then all the completed projects are going to be hidden. So if you complete the project that was triggered by the submission of a request form, then it would disappear from the left-hand side folder tree. We have another question from Sarah. In addition to the webinar recording being shared, is there a place where you can have the list of 10 signals shared? Well, not at the moment, but Sarah, actually, this is a great idea. So I can just create, I don't know, PDF one-pager with all 10 signals and just ask our email marketing team to send it over to you with the recording of the webinar. Yeah. We have another question from Michelle. Where do I go to learn more about permalinks? Well, actually, permalinks is a very separate, very simple functionality. You can always go to our help center at help.wrike.com. Let me check. I think we have an article about permalinks. So yeah, I'm also pasting it into the chat. So Michelle, please just follow that link and you will find this article. We have a question from JJ's, I'm sorry. Can you click some templates so that I can see how they work? Well, right now, a template is simply a copy of a project. So here is the template for new webinar template, right? So it is just a project that I store in the place that is convenient for me. So whenever I need to quickly get started on a new webinar project, I simply duplicate this template and select the folder where I want this project to be created. So when the project is created from template, depending on the settings, it can have all the tasks already assigned, all the tasks already scheduled. So yeah, it's how you create the project from a template. We have another question from Lindsay. What is the benefit of a milestone versus a due date? What is the difference? Well, the milestone in Wrike is a task that only has a due date. It does not have a start date. From the logical perspective, a milestone is an important task that usually signifies either the end of the project or a particular important step in the project. So if I just open the whole marketing department in the Gantt chart view, you should see the projects that are residing here. Yeah, for example, this one, customer feedback. Or let me just open the, it's template, I'm sorry. I'll just open the creative team folder on the Gantt chart. Yeah, so you can see all these projects, and all the milestones are represented by diamonds. All the tasks, regular tasks, are represented by rectangles. So from the logical perspective, it is some very important stage of the project. And from the functional perspective, I would say that a milestone give you the opportunity to filter by them, to build reports based on specifically on milestones and another use cases. So yeah. We have another question from Devon. Can you please export your new employee onboarding to Excel and send it to the people who are watching? I have been trying to build an employee onboarding, but I do not think what I have done is helpful. Well, as I said, my example here is not populated with any of the tasks. But sure, I can do that. I can send you the spreadsheet. Well, actually, this is everything that is included into that onboarding. So like week 1, week 2. So I mean, nothing really special here. Yeah. We have another question from Sarah. Where can I learn more about creating and utilizing a knowledge base folder? As far as I remember, we had a webinar on that. Let me quickly check. Yeah, so we have a webinar, actually a recorded version of this webinar called Optimizing Your Wrike Knowledge Base. Again, Sarah, I'm now pasting the link to this webinar into the chat. So we have another question from Hayat. Do you have the ability to set up forms? Well, 2 conditions here. First, you need to be on a business subscription or higher. And second condition, you need to be an admin. So if you are on business subscription, then you can either create forms or you can ask for admin's rights, and then you will be able to create forms. Another question from Jean-Philippe. I only have tasks and folders. Where do I go to create a request form? Request forms can be created only by admins, so you need to go to account management and go to the tab called request forms. This is the place where the forms can be created. Another question from Anna. Can we assign hours to a specific tasks? The answer is yes, but only with Wrike resource add-on. So if you have this add-on purchased, then yes, you are able to enable effort for any of the tasks, and you are able to enter the exact amount of hours this task is going to take. So I have just done it. Now I'm saving. So this task is going to take 5 hours of, well, in this example, Joanna's time and Lawrence's time. All right. Sign asks, how did you get to that page? Sign, could you please clarify what page are you referring? Krista has a question. How does one access the time tracking and advanced budgeting features that you used in the reporting portion? So time tracking is available starting on business subscription. So employees are able to add time entries and just track their time in Wrike. And if we talk about advanced budgeting, this can be done with the use of custom fields. So once you create a currency type custom field, you are able to input the values to the corresponding fields. We have 4 minutes remaining, so let me just show you one last thing that I wanted to show. Don't forget, by the way, to please post your poll result with this hashtag in Twitter or anywhere, maybe in Instagram. And I just wanted to showcase that we have our community, which is also accessible from the Help Center. So help.wrike.com community. I'll also paste the link into the chat. So please just you can continue asking your questions here. We'll be happy to continue all our discussion there. All right, so let me just take several more questions. We have another question from Krista. Also, would you recommend maintaining templates within Wrike or within an uploadable Excel file template? Of course, the short answer is within Wrike. As I mentioned I think at the middle of today's webinar, the time invested at the stage of building the template pays off well when you just save all the time later. When you are quickly creating your projects from templates. We have another question from Sarah. We don't have guest reviews. How can I configure it in our Wrike account? Oh, I guess you just need to enable them in the Wrike Labs. So just go to wrike.com/labs. So you should have guest reviews here. So if you have proofing and approvals, you should have guest reviews available in Wrike Labs. But basically, they should actually appear in your account because we have released them publicly. So maybe you, Sarah, could you please clarify? So do you have proofing and approvals add-on, or are you using Wrike for Marketers subscription? Because if yes, then you should have guest reviews functionality. If you don't, please address our support. Maybe there is something wrong. Selena is asking, can we create a predefined workflow for a project and not only for a task to know its status? Not workflow, but this can be done with a custom field. And another quick example for you. So here we have this project portfolio management. Project portfolio management, I would say folder, yeah, and it contains 3 projects. So what I did here was adding 2 custom fields. The first one is called risk and the second one is called priority. So basically on the project level, I have added these values. So basically with the same, I would say, method, you can create specific project statuses, but this is a workaround. We are again researching the options to add additional project statuses. Another question from Jean-Philippe. How can I reach out to someone for one-on-one training? Well, Jean-Philippe, please reach out to your account manager and get some information on this, because he or she will be able to answer that question perfectly. So the last question I will take, I'm sorry guys, I see there are more questions falling into the question box. I'm happy that you are so active, but we're already out of the time. So hi, is Wrike going to be creating more webinars? I love them and they're super helpful. Yes, the answer is yes, of course. So feel free to go to wrike.com/webinar. Again, I'm pasting the link to this page into the chat. So here you can find all the webinars that we deliver. For example, in February, we're going to have 2 additional awesome sessions. The first one is called 7 Psychological Triggers Every Marketer Should Master. And another one, by the way, guys, everyone who had asked about request forms. So best practices for internal and company-wide request forms. My colleague Irina is going to deliver it. And we have prepared some super cool examples for you guys. All right. So Thank you so much for attending today's session. Thank you for being so active. Thank you for participating in our poll. It was great to interact with you, and it was very interesting to find out how are you doing with Wrike? What is your experience level? So I hope to see you on our other webinars and Ask the Expert sessions, and I wish you guys the most productive rest of your week. See you on our other webinars. Bye guys.